For nearly 400 years prior to World War I, the lands of Iraq existed as three distinct semi-autonomous provinces or vilayets within the Ottoman Empire. In each of these vilayets, one of the three religious or ethnic groups that predominated in the region were the Shiites, the Sunnis and the Kurds. They held sway within the veneer of the Ottoman rule, resting on top of a complex network of local clans and tribal alliances. This delicate system was undone by the West, and all for two predictable reasons: oil and colonialism. In order to raise an Arab revolt against the Ottomans who had joined the Germans and the Austro-Hungarians in World War I, Great Britain forged a wartime alliance with Emir Hussein or Ben Hussein Ali of the Hejaz region in Arabia, now the western edge of Saudi Arabia bordering the Red Sea. The 1915 pact was mutually advantageous one, since Hussein was an extremely prominent Islamic religious figure, the guardians of the two holiest cities, Mecca and Medina. What Hussein did not know was that, just months after reaching this accord, the British government secretly made a separate and very much conflicting pact with their chief ally in World War I, the French. Under the terms of the Sykes-Picot Agreement, the future independent Arab nation was relegated to the wastelands of the Arabian Peninsula, while all of the most political and commercially valuable proportions of the Arab world, Greater Syria, Syria and Lebanon, Mesopotamia, Iraq, would be carved into British and French imperial spheres of influence, or mandates. The double cross was finally laid bare in the post-war Paris Peace Conference of 1919 and solidified at the Saint-Ramon Conference in April 1920. Under these imperial agreements, France was given much of Greater Syria, essentially modern-day borders of that country along with Lebanon, while the British had possession of the vast phase of the Arabian world below: Yemen, Palestine, Iraq, Iran, and some other countries with protectorate or mandate status. In the promises made to Ben Hussein Ali back in 1915 regarding the future Arab independence, one of the very few modifications the British had asked for were the two southern vilayets of Iraq, where oil had been discovered. Here London suggests special administrative agreements would have been made. By the war's end, however, oil had been discovered in the vilayet of Mosul, just to the north of Iraq, and Britain cast a covetous gaze over there as well. Since the promise of the Arabian and the Arab independence was a dead letter, the situation was quite simple. The nation of Iraq was created by fusing the three Ottoman provinces or vilayets into one, and put under direct British control with Faisal as their king. Naturally, Britain did not present this as a land grab as it truly was. To the contrary, this was a high-minded talk of the articulate nature of their mission. However, after significantly civilizing the period of Western tutelage, the locals might be allowed to govern themselves. While the ungrateful locals balked in this notion, the British simply just dismissed the officials and the bureaucrats of the former regime, ignored the tribal leaders and placed the new vassal state under the direct administration of British civil servants and soldiers. To the few Britons who had actually had some familiarity with the corner of the Arab world, the sights of impending calamity was unmistakable. Among them was T.E. Lawrence, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, as Lawrence had wrote in the newspaper editor in September 1919 in regards to the summoning intentions in Iraq. If we do not mend our ways, I will accept revolt there about March next. Lawrence was right, but he was off with his timetable by 3 months, when the revolt actually came in June 1920. Caught completely off guard was the local British administration. Within weeks, hundreds of soldiers and civil servants had been killed, with the rebellion only eventually put down by the surge of British troops and severe military reprisals, including the dropping of poison gas on tribal insurgents. In a belated effort to defuse the crisis in Iraq and elsewhere in the Middle East, throughout the region, however, the Arabs saw that they had traded the Ottoman overseers for the European ones. The British government hastily adopted the Winston Churchill as the colonial secretary in early 1921. One of the first people Churchill turned to for help was Lawrence, the war hero and the champion of the Arab independence cause, until Faisal caught him and, all of that. As a result, the Cairo conference that happened that March had finally brought the Middle East to peace for now. One of the emirs, Hussein bin Ali's sons, Faisal, was made the king of Iraq, while another son, Abdullah, was placed on the throne of the newly created kingdom of Jordan, and Ali took over his father in Hejaz. But anyway, that is Iraq. Of course, we can't forget the Mesopotamian campaign where the most brutal acts of the Ottomans were faced: the siege of Kut, the forced march of the Indians, the forced march of the British, and probably some leisure time by the officers by the Ottomans to have good favour when the war ended. But the Treaty of Service never forgot the Indians, the men, the Australians, the New Zealanders, the South Rhodesians, and the South Africans, and some French that have perished in the long marches by the Ottoman Empire in World War I, Mesopotamia, aka Iraq, and of course another despot who would obviously control Iraq. But his name and his goals and his downfall of the country of Iraq and the artificial state of Iraq, because it was three vilayets before it was merged into one, into the nation of Iraq, those are a story for another day, my friend. Yes, Saddam Hussein. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. A bit of a long-winded, narrow-minded kind of outro, but yeah, this is the outro, so if noise is noise, whatever. I've found a new setup which is actually pretty cool. I lay back and there's like this hamper where you put clothes in, so I put the mic on that, and now I could stay back while not holding the mic, getting my arms tied and actually fluctuate my arms, so I can actually have a little vibe going on, because, you know, I don't know, just like jazz hands, like, you know, just move about, you know, have body blood flowing, because I'm sitting on the ground, as you know, so that's actually pretty good. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and hopefully the quality would be better. I don't know about a Yeti mic, because that'll be like as big as the basket here. The basket's about what, like 2 feet tall, so nah, like about a foot and something tall, so it's about that big. So anyway, one day at a time, boys and girls, and I hope you learned something about Iraq. And of course, you can look at the sister nation which beat Iraq to a pulse in 1989. Well, and it was an armistice, but in actuality, you can't beat Iran because it's twice as big as Iraq. But anyway, grandma's home and she wants a bedroom, so learn something.